Jon Favreau has received a lot of praise for being the showrunner of The Mandalorian. I think the show is overrated. There was once a time where we had the sequels in just The Mandalorian. Fans were not ready to disregard Disney Star Wars. Today, I feel the fans are more open to it. I just trashed the first episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, and I was expecting a lot of crybabies in the comments. It's been very quiet. It's been 2 years since Season 2, but the Book of Boba Fett and that failure is still fresh on everyone's mind. Jon Favreau was the showrunner of that failure. Maybe this guy isn't as great as the Disney shills and Disney sympathizers think he is. In a recent interview discussing The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau talked about the timeline.
Is Grogu a nexus point for those two cultures to perhaps unite under Tar Vizsla's Darksaber?
That's a very interesting perspective. You know, he is definitely somebody who has spent time in both worlds. And we know that he started off earlier in the Jedi Temple. We've seen flashbacks to that, that speak to that. And then we know that he's been rescued and spent many years with the Mandalorian. Went back with Luke. Now we've been 2 years apart from him there training. What's interesting is that as he chooses to return to his friend, the Mandalorian, because he's developed an attachment, it's interesting how that echoes in a way Luke's path when he was drawn to the attachment to his friends and how that helped shape the future.
Two things to take here. He said Grogu has spent many years with Mando. Many years? There never seems to be any major significant time jump in the show. Events happen one after the other. But that's not too important. What is important is Jon Favreau said Grogu was training with Luke Skywalker for 2 years. At first, I thought he misspoke. It's been 2 years since Season 2. But when asked to clarify, he doubled down.
Now we got to talk time period. Because you really set the internet on fire today.
Oh, I did?
Yes, you did.
How so?
Because you said that Grogu was with Luke Skywalker for many years.
I don't know if I said many years. It's probably about the real time that we've experienced it. So it was the end of Season 2 when they said goodbye. We checked in the Book of Boba Fett about a year ago when they parted company again, and then he rejoined the Mandalorian. So now I think somewhere in there, more than one and less than, somewhere between 1 and 2, 0 and 2 years.
Oh, so not that many years.
No, not that many.
So
screen time, we know we only have 30 years to tell all our stories, and we have a lot more stories to tell.
The lack of attention to detail is alarming, especially since this guy is considered to be a savior of Star Wars. Grogu clearly was not with Luke Skywalker for 2 years. It's closer to 2 months, if even that. Let's break it down and put more thought into it than Jon Favreau ever has. Luke senses Grogu and decides to go get him and train him. Luke gets Grogu. At this point, he doesn't have any students, but he's very confident he has the structure to teach him. How long did it take to travel back to his academy? A day? Maybe he didn't know he was going there at first, which would be kind of negligent, picking up a student and not having a place to go. If that's the case, he was traveling around with Grogu for 2 weeks, a month, then they finally found a planet to settle on. The first time we see Luke and Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett, I don't think it's day 1. They seem to have some sort of routine, they seem familiar with each other, Ahsoka's there, so some time has passed, but not much. A lot of the stuff Luke is saying to Grogu is very first day, first week kind of stuff. It's like it's his pre-training. Maybe they've been training for a month, tops. The episode really seems like it all takes place in the same day, but it does show Grogu progressing in his skills. During that time Mando comes and goes, maybe I'd add another month here to reflect Grogu's progression in training. But Luke asked Ahsoka about Mando coming there. This was after Grogu showed progression. I don't think he was sitting around for a month summoning up the courage to ask her. This all happened in the same day. And how long is Ahsoka really standing around stalking them? A few days? A week at most? A month if we want to get ridiculous? But it's not too important to Favreau's comment. Luke has a talk with Grogu and it confirms the real training has not begun. He tells him if you commit to training, it will take several years. There's no chance they've already been together for 2 years because this would just be very contradicting. It's gonna take a several-year commitment, Grogu, but you've already been with me for a couple years. This is Disney Star Wars. Then Luke decides Grogu is a stupid piece of shit that's only at his academy to sell merch. He gives him a choice and then kicks him out. I estimate the shortest time Grogu was with Luke Skywalker, 1 day to travel to the academy, 2 weeks of pre-training, 1 day of training in the Book of Boba Fett, 1 day of kicking his ass out of the academy, about 3 weeks. The longest estimated time, 1 month to find a place to build the academy, couple months of pre-training, 2 weeks of Ahsoka stalking, another week of talking to Grogu and kicking him out, round up to 6 months. 6 months is a long time. The bottom line is there is no way this is 2 years. Jon Favreau is a moron. He is not saving Star Wars. He's a sequel-loving Ray boy. Jon Favreau is a Disney shill. Become a knight, subscribe to the channel, join the Knights of Melvin Discord, help plot to take down Disney and all their shills.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.